Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture 18 of AFM. I have already uploaded 17 lectures on AFM and you can access those lectures under my AFM lecture playlist. The 17 lectures that I've discussed are on the technical areas of your syllabus. This one and the next lecture, that will be lecture 19, they are actually not lecture, but they are like, I could say, additional videos for you to score well in the exam techniques, you can say. So this one will be focusing on professional skills. How can you get the professional skill marks in AFM? And the next video, which will be lecture 19, you will get this also under the AFM playlist only. That will be on your CB platform. How do you access the materials in your CB platform? Okay, so starting with professional skill marks in AFM, as we know that this is the area where students often struggle, not just for AFM, for all the professional level paper. Mind you, you will be having professional skill marks apart from your technical marks. This is not there in your F level papers. This is new, only for professional level papers, no matter whatever paper you give. AFM, ATX, AAA, APM, SBL, we already had SBL. So you cannot skip this, okay? And the points that I'm going to cover in this video, you can use it for other subjects also, because it's more or less very similar. It is, even though it is just specifically for AFM, because there are some things which is only for AFM, like report writing, calculations, but general points you can take this as a takeaway for your other subjects like ATX, AAA, SBL, of course. Okay, so let's start. In this, we are going to cover on 6 separate areas. First one, professional skills in AFM. We are going to talk it from the point of AFM. But other subjects also has the similar things, similar layout of professional skill. Marks is 20 professional skill marks for all the professional level papers. I think except SBR currently. But later on, I think from September sitting onwards, they might introduce 20 marks for SBR as well. Apart from SBR, all the papers have this professional skill marks, 20 marks for all the papers. It's the same. The professional skills are also same in all the papers. Okay. Next, content of the professional skills. What are these 4 professional skills? In SBL, there are 5. Okay. Apart from SBL, others have only 4 professional skills and they are same. Third, format of the exam, including professional skills. Then we are going to go in detail on how to score these professional skill marks. Time management and planning, very important, because AFM is often failed not because of lack of knowledge, time management. Lots of information, lots of calculations and writing. Then general advice from ACCA examining team for all the papers you can apply. Okay. So when you're going through this, maybe some of you might be giving other papers, not AFM. See it from the subject that you are giving, that point of view. Okay, just change the subject. More or less is very same, not so much of difference. So coming to professional skills, all strategic professional exam have professional skill, except SBR currently. That means for June sitting, SBR will have no professional skill marks. I mean, they do have the 4 professional skill marks that there were before also, but they have not introduced the 20 professional skill marks in SBR yet. Other subjects, yes, it is there. Next, 20 professional skill marks out of 100. 80 is for technical. That means whatever you write and all, the requirements. These are easy marks to gain. Yes, I repeat, these are easy marks to gain. It is not something which is very difficult. Why? As you are writing, as you are answering your requirement, you are getting these marks automatically. How? I will show you. Okay. More details if you want to know about the professional skills, it is there on ACCA website under professional skills section. And make sure when you do questions, you develop these professional skills also in that question. Coming to content. So there are 4 professional skills that you will be tested on: communication, analysis and evaluation, skepticism and judgment, commercial acumen. If you can see, the second and the third point has stars because there's a note to it. Communication and commercial acumen, no difference. Every subject has the same. There's no difference in it. But when it comes to analysis and skepticism, let's see. Analysis and evaluation. If you see in your SBL, there are two separate skills. That means that gives you 5 professional skill marks. When you come to the other papers, AAA, ATX, APM, AFM, analysis and evaluation are combined together. They are one skill. Because in option exam means apart from SBR and SBL, the other 4 optional exams, to evaluate something you have to analyze. Analyze means in depth. You have to go through it. You have to do a in-depth research before you come to a conclusion. So they think any way to evaluate you have to analyze. Without analysis you cannot evaluation. So they combined. Maybe in the future you might see that in all the papers they will make it same way, right? In the future they might upgrade because ACCA keeps on upgrading to make it more simpler and more consistent. Then judgment. This judgment is added only for AAA. It is not there in other paper because for AAA auditors, it's a requirement. They need to have judgment. Okay. For other papers, it's just skepticism. They will not write and judgment. It's only for AAA. Coming to exam format. Your exam is 3 or 15 minutes. CB platform, no paper based. It is removed. Section, it is divided into 2 sections. Section A, you will have 150 mark case study. And out of that 50, 40 technical marks, that means asking requirements and all, 10 is your professional skill marks. Okay. And out of that, communication, skepticism, analysis and evaluation, and commercial acumen, all the 4 will be tested in section A. But out of that 4, only communication will be there in section A only. Communication will not be tested in a section B question. Why? Because only in section A, your first question, they will ask you to prepare a report. That's why. And preparing a report comes under communication only, communication skills. Coming to section B, 225 marks compulsory question. Out of 25, 5 for each are professional and 20 technical. So that adds up to 100 marks, okay? Section B will have a combination of the professional skills. But each question will tell you which professional skills they are testing. For example, a question might, they will write the requirement. Down they will write they are testing commercial acumen. They will tell you. So you don't have to worry about it. And each question will contain minimum of 2 professional skills. Apart from communication, because communication only in section A. Section A, all the professional skills will come, but communication only is for section A. Section B, the remaining 3. Out of that remaining 3, minimum 2 for each question. Each question they will ask. Now, this is the question presentation. So the wording for section A will be like this something. They will write the requirement. Down they will write professional skills awarded for demonstration of skill in communication, analysis, skepticism, commercial. All the 4. Because it is section A. Section B, 5 marks. Skill in skepticism and commercial acumen. See, every question will have 2 professional skills. Any 2. Okay. Now, so we'll go in details in all of the 4 professional skills: communication, skepticism, commercial acumen, and analysis. Communication. We'll start with communication because it comes in section A also, 10 marks. So this is how you are going to get the communication skill marks. First thing, they will always ask you to prepare some report for a director or someone, mostly director. Make sure that you prepare it in a form of report. Your answer has to be in a report. If it's in any other format, or if the answer is correct but it is without a report format, you will not get your professional skill marks. Yes. So this is how you write the report. When you're writing the report, main part of that body should be in your word processor. In your CB platform, there are response, like what are the places where you have to write your answer. One is word processor, one is spreadsheet, the other one is slides. Okay. So for report, you mostly need word processor and spreadsheet. Slide we don't need, unless they tell you. So in word processor, you are typing your main report. Any calculations is done as an appendix in the spreadsheet. Don't do calculations in word processor. If you do, you are going to lose out on time. Why? Because typing the number in the word processor, you manually have to do the calculations by using calculator. So you will run short of time. Whereas if you do the same calculations in spreadsheet, spreadsheets have functions. You can copy paste. You can easily take it, drag it to the other slide. You just do calculation in one, copy paste to the whatever the cell it is required, which saves a lot of time. Okay, it has functions. Spreadsheet has functions. Word processor does not have, and you have to type it. So no use. You have to take care of time. There's a reason why the spreadsheet is given. Make use of it. The reason I'm telling you is this. You might be saying, of course we know it. Yes, of course you know it, but when it comes to the exam, you don't do that. You try to put everything in the word processor because you feel like it's a mess that going from one sheet to another sheet, to word processor to spreadsheet to word processor. That's why we have to practice on the CB platform often so that you get the hang of it, going from one sheet to another sheet, jumping from one exhibit to another. you know you need to be exposed to that environment during a practice session, not on the day of the exam. You can have great calculation skills. You could be superb in writing theories very nicely, but if you are not practicing it in spreadsheet and word processor within the time, I'm sorry, you have to worry about it, because environment on a CB platform and when you're writing on a paper, very different. Okay. Third, when you're writing the report, okay, you have to write who the report is for, who has prepared the report, the sender and the receiver, and what information does that report will contain. I will show you a demo. Okay, I will illustrate how a report looks like. Don't worry. These are just basic information. And every report should have an introductory paragraph. And that introductory paragraph is nothing but just paraphrasing your requirements. They will give you the requirements, no? Calculate something or discuss this. That only you have to paraphrase, okay, and write it as an introduction in the report. Very easy. That is very easy, easiest thing to write introduction. Then a report should have an appropriate subheadings. Without subheadings, report does not stand out. Your report will not stand out. If you write 5-6 points without a subheading, no one will understand. And that subheading should be in bold. You have to make it sure that subheading could be seen. And subheading should not be too long. It should not be a big sentence. Maybe 3 to 4 words. Now, sometimes one word is also could be a subheading. Then, language of the report. When you're writing the language of the report, make sure that you are addressing it to the director. Okay, your tone should be such. Conclusion. Yes, it should include a conclusion. Without a conclusion, you will lose out some marks. Not a lot of marks, some marks you will lose. But your main requirement that you answer comes in your conclusion only. Okay. Because this and conclusion is not a new piece of information. Remember that. Conclusion is something that you have done. You try to summarize and make it in small words, whatever you have discussed, and write it in there. Maybe 3-4 lines. Okay. Then any calculation, it is you will definitely have calculations, no doubt. AFM, whether it is question 1, whether it is question 2, whether it is question 3, there is not a question where no calculation is there. Every 3 questions will have separate calculations on 3 separate area. Maybe one question on risk management. Definitely risk management will come. One on accusation, one on net present value. At least net present value and risk management, definitely these 2 questions, 100% they will come. There is no doubt about it. Then about reconstruction and mergers, yes, sometimes they might give you both as a 50 bucks question, or sometimes they might give you out of the 2 one, reconstruction or accusation or merger. But my advice is prepare for all the 4 areas. Okay. And you have to use functions wherever it is appropriate because it saves time and it's very professional also, rather than you typing and adding manually. I know there is a calculator on CB platform which you can use, but using a sum function in Excel is much faster. Okay. For example, sum function is there equal to sum. Then drag the cell where whatever the cell you want to add. Net present value function is also there, equal to net present value, where you can save a lot of time. Okay, try doing this, try practicing this in few days. You just have, I think, 2 days left, today and day after tomorrow. Today and yeah, today and tomorrow, 2 more days, Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Yes, Friday is your exam, so practice. And don't type answers into a spreadsheet, because typing is done in the word processor. Spreadsheet is mostly used to do functions, to perform functions. Now, this is how a report format will look like. You start with two, mostly board of directors. They will tell you to whom you have to write the report. Don't worry about it. So two, board of directors mostly. From mostly you are the financial manager. They will tell you that also who you are. Date. Write the date on your whichever the date your exam paper is. Write that date. Okay, if they have not given you any date. Subject. You have to choose a subject. Remember how we write email? You choose a subject like that. So if the question is on accusation, let's say question 1 is on accusation, then accusation of so company, right? Mention the name of the company, but be very specific. Don't just write accusation of a company or accusation. It's not clear for which company you are acquiring, no? So write accusation of so. Then comes the introduction. Stick to this format. There might be so many other ways of writing report, but for exam purpose, for AFM, stick to this format only. Introduction should not be more than 3 to 4 lines, because you are just paraphrasing your requirement. For example, requirement might say evaluate accusation, whether there is an additional value for shareholder, whether there's a value addition. So you are going to write, yes, this report evaluates whether the accusation would be beneficial to the target company or the company is acquiring. But, and how are you doing that? You have to write that also. For example, company the requirement might tell you calculate equity value, additional equity value created through synergy. So write it. We are going to see whether it is acquisition is beneficial or not by estimating additional equity value created from synergy resulting where two companies are combined. Just in 3 lines short. Because see, whenever, even in while you are working, okay, in your practical life, when someone writes a report, the in between part, middle part, comes to the attention later. Most of the time people will read introduction and the conclusion. Based on that, they will understand somewhat. 80 to 90% they will understand through introduction and conclusion only. That's why when you're writing introduction and conclusion, make it very short and to the point, because your middle part only will have so many of things to talk about. Keep it short and brief. Okay, because no one has time to go to the entire report. So when no one has time to go through the entire report, how do they read so many reports? By introduction and conclusion. Now, okay, next para, under introduction only. So that is about discussion part. When you have any calculation to do, this is how you mention. You have to mention the place where calculations are there. So financial estimates are provided in the appendix of the report or appendix. So these calculations are used to support the discussion. Don't just write calculations are provided under appendix. What should we do with calculation in the report? You have to tell that those calculations will support the discussion. Okay. Now, next para. So then we have subheading 1, subheading 2, subheading 3. It could be 4, 5, depending on the requirement. If there are 4 requirements, 4 subheading, 2 requirements, 2 subheading. They will not usually ask 1 subheading. You will always have more than 1, don't worry. At least 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is very basic subheadings. So some has 5, 6 also. Depending, like for some questions you might have many points to write, right? So it depends on the question. But at least 3, yes, every question has at least 3. The minimum is the 3. You will always have 3 or more than that, not less than that. So each subheading, when you're writing, remember, follow the order that your requirement was asked. For example, question 1, A, B, C, D, 4 requirements. So first answer A, then B, then C, then D. Same order. So subheading also will be in that order. Requirement 1, subheading 1. Requirement 2, subheading 2. Requirement 3, subheading 3. Okay. See, it's in bold. So you have to make it bold. Okay. Then answer to the part of that question. So you are answering. Subheading 1, answer. Subheading 2, answer. Subheading 3, answer. Like that. Continue. Then we have conclusion at the end. Okay. And some conclusion words you can even take from here. See the wordings. It's just like a standard conclusion. Just change according to the case study. For example, if it's a valuation, maybe you can use the same conclusion. Just change the name of the company and the requirement that they have asked. So here let's read the conclusion. They told that valuation indicate. When you're writing conclusion also, make sure that you follow the order the requirement you have done. For example, don't immediately start saying that this valuation is not beneficial or is beneficial. You can't see, don't stick to one thing, because AFM is like a gray area. You cannot say yes or no. It's not a yes or no. You are in between. See the wordings, we'll see. So valuations, according to the valuation, they indicate that ABC shareholders would benefit from the acquisition of that company, and value of their shares also should increase. How are you saying this? Because you have done calculations by now. So when you come to conclusion, you know, yes, it increased. However, so make a habit of, some of you might just write is beneficial. That's it. One line conclusion. No, it does not work like that. You have to build up on that. However, so answer the requirement, beneficial or not. If it's beneficial, okay. However, this are the problems, assumptions. You have to list. So, however, the method used. See, whenever you make use of some method, no, it could be any question. Net present value, risk management. Wherever assumption is used, talk about those assumptions. Limitation of those assumptions. So, method used to estimate the value has number of estimates and assumptions. Therefore, it is recommended. See, in conclusion, you also can recommend. You have to recommend, in fact, because that is your job. That this is beneficial, but these are the limitations. Now, what do you recommend? So, therefore, it is recommended. Don't use the words like, in my opinion, I think so, I felt so. Don't use like words like this. Okay, it doesn't look professional. So, like, rather say it is therefore recommended based on the facts or based on the evidence. Like that also you can say, okay, that a range of valuation is made under different assumptions and estimates through sensitivity analysis before a final decision is made. This you can copy paste in your question also. If you have a mergers and acquisition where you are used assumption, same copy paste. That means, see, whenever valuation question is there, always tell them to make range of valuations under different estimates. Same conclusion. This is general conclusion for acquisition and merger. This you also can use it. In case if you have a question, if you have some other question, risk management question, if you have question on investment appraisal, you cannot use this range of valuations and all. Where will you use range of valuation? That question. So according to question, you have to see. Don't write in every question number one range of valuations and a sensitivity analysis. It depends on the question. Okay. In case if you get acquisition and merger, then use this. And you can talk about sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity analysis is mostly talking two areas. One is acquisition, the other one is net present value. There also sensitivity analysis will help you. Okay. Because it gives you a range of outcomes rather than just deciding based on one net present value or one valuation, have a range of values. It's more safer also before you make an acquisition or investment decision, before a final decision is made. Okay. As well as this, limitations of the valuation method should be well understood and taken into account. Like the same conclusion you can give. You have to make sure that you highlight this limitation of valuation method in conclusion. What are you doing through this? By using these words, you are trying to switch the responsibility from your side to their side. For example, based on your report, if they make any incorrect decision, let's say, then later on they cannot blame you, because you have highlighted them the issues. You have told them that these are the limitations, but now it's up to them, after considering the limitations, whether they want to go ahead with the decision or not, to acquire or to invest. That's why you have to bring out these limitations also, because you have already warned them before. That's why this things has to be there in the conclusion. You just cannot write benefit one side, rather not only negative. So it should not be positive or just negative. Both you have to include, because decision making is theirs finally, not yours. You are not going to make a decision for them and say that they should go with the valuation or they should not go with the valuation. Or let's say if it's a net present value question, you should not say you should go ahead with the investment because it is giving a good net present value, or you should not go because it's negative. No, decision is theirs. You can only do some calculation and some that is also based on assumptions. Okay, so you're just recommending them. That's why. So I think I've spent so much of time in conclusion. The reason is because you need to know all these things, right? Tomorrow you will be working, you'll be hired, so you'll be working somewhere making a report is very common thing. You have to write a conclusion, so you have to write these words. Same thing if you have right to write an audit report, also same thing. We have a section, no, auditors responsibility, management's responsibility. Why do we have that? So that in the time of conflict or anything, any wrong decision is made based on the auditor's report, later on they don't come and blame the auditor. Here also same thing, they should not come and blame the financial manager. That is you who's preparing the report, because you cannot give them 100% assurance like an auditor's report. Here also 100% assurance you cannot give them. You're just giving them reasonable assurance. And finally, appendix. Okay, write this. So appendix, see spreadsheet like this. And when you're writing spreadsheet, by the way, I have seen a lot of I have previously, I think 2 3 batches before, I was marking 2 3 papers on AFM. There I saw that when calculations are done, it's done in a very not so clear, not detailed, very haphazard manner. Some calculation there, some calculation somewhere else. No, it should be very consistent. If you have a habit of highlighting or coloring the box where your final answer is in your spreadsheet, you should do it for all the parts like that. I will show you that also later when we do a question later on, like in my later videos, not in this one. So you have to, in your spreadsheet also you have to label. For example, if it's question 1 part B, which is question, so you have to write question 1 part B in your spreadsheet. Why? You are not using your spreadsheet only for question 1, no, you're using the spreadsheet for other 2 questions also, 3 questions. So if all the calculations are there in spreadsheet, how do you know which one is for what? Examiner will not figure it out for you, finding okay, this net present value question, this is risk management. No, you have to label it like that clearly. Okay, now so this is how a report will look like. I've explained you. Just take a minute to have a glance over it. I've covered all of this. Okay, your middle part will often be the biggest chunk. Introduction, conclusion, short. So you start with 2 from date, subject, introduction, then 1 2 3 4 whatever subheadings, then conclusion, then appendix. Now analysis and evaluation. So here this is very important for AFM. If you look from the point of AFM, why? Because most of the things in AFM you have to analysis only, whether it is risk management, net present value, acquisition, reconstruction, because its calculations are there, no, numbers are there which you have to go through. And here lots of calculations you have to do. It's very common in AFM. Significant amount of calculations are required. So it is a key to remember that in AFM, any analysis or evaluation is contextual. Contextual means it is based on the context. You have to see the organization in the question that is given to you. For example, you have to see whether the organization is a profit-making organization or a public sector. Accordingly, your recommendation, everything will change. The model that you are using will change. Then if it's an acquisition, you have to see whether it is a public listed company that you're acquiring or a privately limited company. If it's a privately limited company, like earnings per share, EPS, some measures you cannot use for them to value. You have to use some other valuation. So UC is affecting valuation, things like that. Now, analysis and evaluation, two parts I've divided so that I can show you how to get marks for analysis and evaluation. If it's analysis, okay, analysis, how do you show analysis? Analysis means, let's say there are 2-3 exhibits given to you, and in 2-3 exhibits questions, calculations are there, numbers are there. How well are you using numbers from all the exhibits to come up to a conclusion? That is the meaning of analysis. That means you are using a range of data rather than one data only. For example, ratios are given on one, on the other area some, let's say, press release is given, then on the other one maybe questionnaire, customer feedback is given. So how well are you using all these resources together and come into a conclusion, common conclusion? Because see, all the information that is given from variety of sources should give you same conclusion only. It should be consistent. It cannot be inconsistent. They will give you consistent information only, don't worry. But it is your job how well, rather than just using one piece of information. If you are using financial, make sure you use non-financial data also. Especially this is for calculations. Analysis usually comes from where you have to calculate. Next, ability to draw conclusion based on your information. And then how you're advising and all. For example, some data, you might see that to come to a conclusion, you need some data which is missing. So you can highlight this in your answer that further analysis is needed or further data is needed to make a recommendation on the topic. Now, evaluation. Evaluation is a balanced appraisal. That means you are giving the pros of something and cons of something. And then you are coming to a conclusion. If pros is more than the cons, then you are going to suggest that. For example, changing an organization's reward system. What could be the benefit and drawback? You will give both. And then you will come whether it is good or bad to change an reward system. Okay. Here, remember, when you are doing evaluation, you have to use your own judgment. Judgment as in you have to understand, there are so many factors, but you have to understand what is the relevant factor in that question. What you have to prioritize and then come to a conclusion. Skepticism, the third one. Skepticism, this means you're having a questioning approach. You question everything rather than trusting everything. You have a kind of doubt or questioning approach. And mostly in audit, you need it. Okay, as an auditor's defined skill. Next, questioning is very good, in fact, because questioning will help you to see a lot of problems which you might not have if you don't question. Okay, you are questioning the evidences, you are questioning the assumptions, and if there is any contradictory evidence, you can easily identify. Now, see, AFM often have models. Okay, we have one model which is very famous. What is it? Black-Scholes option pricing model. All are assumptions there. No, it is fully assumptions. Share price, exercise price, interest rate is assumption, standard deviation is assumption, right? So, how are you going to use skepticism skill there? By questioning the assumptions. And also, another area where you can use skepticism is mostly if you have seen the AFM questions in the past paper. You might have seen that they give you 2-3 employees from the company. Employees means the senior level executives like financial manager, sales director, or operational manager, giving some statement. For example, one of them might say sales revenue is declining or sales revenue will decline. One of them might say the market is going bad. One of them might say something about human resource part. So how are they saying this statement? How are they giving this strong statement? You have to question them. That is another area where you can get marks on skepticism. This is also very common question. They often keep giving it. Okay, basically challenging those statement. But remember, before challenging, you should know the problems with any assumptions. You just cannot challenge them. Sometimes it is reasonable, whatever they are saying. So before challenging, make sure assumptions or the statements that they are making have a problem with them actually. So here also, you have to use your own professional judgment on the day of the exam, whether you have to challenge, whether it is challenging or whether it is reasonable. Commercial acumen. Okay. Mostly in AFM, as I told you, profit making organization only they give you. But sometimes they might give you public sector or not for profit organizations. Okay. So whatever the context is used, candidates should understand what works for that industry, what does not work. This is known as showing commercial acumen. If you are recommending something which works for profit sector for to a non-profit sector, it shows you are lacking commercial acumen, right? So make sure your recommendations fits to the situation. Then to show the skill, candidates have to use the information scenario. You have to use the information from the scenario given to you. But you can use your own practical commercial considerations also. Maybe from your previous reading or previous paper, you know that there are some other considerations that you can give which is not there in the case study. You can give them also, provided it's practical and applicable to that sector. Because see, in reality, okay, question operation like organizations do not operate in vacuum, right? You have to take care of the external environment and the internal factor, internal resources. So there will be some constraints, some limitations, some issues. Okay. So if you are known aware of these limitations, internal or external, it will give you marks. So to make sure that candidates approach a forward-looking approach, you can consider past consequences of past and future actions. Just see what happened in that organization in the past or in the future, and accordingly you can give them recommendation. Now, time management and planning. When it comes to time management, time is only allocated for your technical marks, not professional skill marks separately. Because as you are answering technical marks, you will get your professional skills also along with it. That's why I say it's easy marks. So, most of your professional paper, the marks, technical marks is 1 mark per point. This is I'm talking for technical marks. 1 mark per point only. But sometimes you might get more than one if you have to explain that point in detail. Okay. Now, so for example, if they give you 6 marks, 6 points. Okay. But sometimes you have to see the requirement. Sometimes single requirement is divided into 2-3 separate parts. So that 6 marks will be accordingly divided between those 2-3 sub requirements like that. Okay. Now, in terms of time management, you have to see, candidate have to see what suits them best. There are 3 separate approach which I'm going to give you. First one, 3 or 15 minutes is the paper. So first 15 minutes, what you can do is you can spend that 15 minutes to read the requirements and plan your answer. The first 15 minutes. Read all the questions, means first question, second question, third question. I always tell you to follow the order. Because anyway, there is no options for you to omit, so that you have to read and then decide. You anyway have to do all the question. But from question 2, you can make a selection. But question 1, I definitely tell you do question 1 first. Reason, 50 marks. Lot of marks is there. Plus, 10 professional skill marks is there in that question. And the time you start the paper, you are very fresh, energetic. When your mind is fresh, calm, without having that time pressure, because first half of the exam you don't have that time pressure, you can perform your question one better. And question one has lots of calculations to do. It's a heavy, but question two is lighter. The both the questions in question two and question three in section B. But there you can have a choice. Mostly I recommend students to do risk management question in in section B, because risk management is easier. It has a standard answer, okay, compared to the other question, whatever they might give you. Reconstruction, accusation, or net present value. So then 15 minutes if you spend on reading and planning the requirement, left is 3 hours. 3 hours means 180 minutes. So technical marks is 80, not 100. So 180 divided by 80 will give you 2.25 minutes. So you can spend 2.25 minutes per mark. That means 90 minutes for section A, 45 minutes for section B. Okay. But I personally follow a different strategy to this. Yes, first 15 minutes I do spend on reading, planning and all. But when it comes to division, the way I divide is I don't take 80 marks, I take 100 marks. I take more. Why? The reason is, if you go by this approach, 2.25, you will exactly finish the paper in 3 or 15 minutes only. That means if you have left anything behind, some question definitely, it is very common. Even however much you plan, you are going to spend more on some parts of the question, especially question 1. You will spend more than question number 2. More time will go than the required time. So I am losing some time on section B. You see? Or sometimes, let's say some part is difficult for me in question 1. So I have a plan that I might come back later and do. So if I finish the paper exactly in 3 or 15 minutes, I will not have time to go back and, do the questions which I have not attempted. So I always give myself some spare time. That's my approach, I'm telling you, my personal approach. Some spare time so that I can come back and do. Sometime I have. Not exactly 3 or 15 minutes, maybe I'll finish 15 or 20 minutes before the time. So that at least I have that last minute to go back and do my remaining part. So what I do is I do 180 divided by 100, which gives me 1.8 minutes per mark. Okay. Second, let's say you have no time. You are not separating the 15 minutes to read or plan. So that gives you 180 plus 15, 195 minutes. Divide by 80 will give you 2.4 minutes per mark. You see, you are spending more time now. So section A 97, section B 49 minutes. And the third one. Remember, time allocation, whether you're going to spend 1 minute per mark or 2 minutes per mark. You can see the ranges between 1 or 2, right? 1 or 2 minutes only, not more than that. Someone not say that I'm going to spend 3-4 minutes for 1 mark. Okay, should not be 1 or 2. This is the range. But whether it's 1 or 1.5 or 2 or 2.5 depend on each candidate. They have their own choice. Okay, because some of you might spend more time on reading and planning. Some of you take less time for reading and planning and more for writing. Depends. But I stick by 1.8 minutes per mark. Okay, and bring a watch on the day of your exam. Make sure that you have an eye on the watch, so that the moment the time is over, you go to the next question. I know that tendency to stay in that question and finish it and be perfect unless I go to the next question. It does not work in ACCA. Trust me. Not only for AFM, not any paper. That's why people often run short of time towards the end of the paper. You're not able to finish the last paper. The way you do your first question, or let's say second question also, third question you don't do well. And that's the major reason why AFM students fail. Lack of time management. So don't try to perfect something. My advice is go ahead with the time. No matter whatever you write, even if You write a little bit also. At least you will not get the full mark, but at least some marks you will get. Rather than losing that marks if you don't do any question towards the end. So attempt all the questions, all the parts, because at the end of the day, remember, pass mark is just 50%. So you can allow yourself to make 50% of mistake. Not 50%, let's make the bench a little higher. 30%, 30 marks of mistakes you can do, or 40 marks of mistakes you can do if you are planning to pass in 60 or 70. Okay. Then general advice from ACC examining team. This is applicable for all the paper. First one, the points that you are making, you might have the urge to make 10 points also, so many points also, especially if you know a subject very well. Okay, you have this urge to write too much. Don't do that. Only write the points which are relevant, very important points you have to write first, and less important points at the end. And that less important points only you have to include when you're not getting enough relevant point. When you feel according to the marks the points that you're writing is less, then only write the less additional points. Next, link. You will be given 3-4 exhibits, not just one exhibit. 3 exhibit, 4 exhibit, 5 exhibit. Link all the exhibits. Some exhibit will have financial information, some exhibit will have non-financial information, some exhibit will have information from other sources like press release or chairman's statement report or auditor's report or something to do with environment or the customer feedback, supplier, or the key stakeholders statement, for example financial manager, sales manager, operational manager, right? Next, so to solve any issue, use all the exhibits, whichever is important exhibit. Not some exhibit might not be relevant for your requirement, don't use those exhibits. Then don't repeat the point that you have previously made, but when you want to reinforce a previous point, for example you are emphasizing on a point, that does not mean you are repeating the point. It means to develop your answer more. Okay, to show the importance of that point, you are reinforcing that. You are again mentioning that previous point to go ahead with the answer, or to make to highlight that point, that thing is very important. That's why you are emphasizing on it. That is not called repetition. Okay, so understand the difference between repetition and emphasizing a previous point. Take notice of the verb. According to the verb you have to answer. If your verb says calculate, don't start writing. So these are common words: identify, calculate, and recommend, evaluate. If they say identify, just the point, very brief point, don't discuss in detail. Or they might say calculate and recommend. If they just say calculate, just do calculation. If they just say recommend, just recommend. And if they say calculate and recommend, means when you are recommending, you need the support of calculation. And evaluate means giving both the positive and the negative side and coming to a conclusion. Show your ability to make points in a logical and a progressive way. Everything grows in a progressive way. Don't immediately start jumping to conclusion and write the conclusion only in the beginning. Come to the conclusion at the end, even if you know the answer. Even if you know the conclusion before writing the answer, keep it till the end. Develop your to such a way and then write the conclusion at the end. That's how we write the report also, no? Once you do the calculation, you know this valuation is beneficial or not, but you don't write this value sorry this accusation is beneficial to this shareholders. You don't just write it, you write it at the end in the conclusion. First you are doing calculation under appendix, then you are writing the points 1 2 3, then you are writing the conclusion. So that way. And most important point first, second important point second, third important, like that. Structure your answer in the format. If they ask you a report, write a report. If they ask you memo, make a memo. If they tell you to write a letter, write a letter, depending on the structure. In AFM, mostly it is report. Other structure, they don't tell you. And if you have a knowledge from your previous learning, let's say from your financial management or financial reporting or performance management or audit, if you have some knowledge, you can bring forward to your AFM so that it makes your arguments more stronger, okay, and convincing. Remember, demonstrating professionalism is not meaning you are using extensive vocabulary or having a perfect grammar. It is not on your English language. Professionalism means clearly express your point, keep it very concise, brief, and to the point, okay, and show credibility in what you are saying. For example, if you want to say something is beneficial, this accusation is beneficial to the shareholder, then on what basis are you saying it? Do you have the financial report? Do you have the calculations, financial calculations? Yes, you have. So that shows you have credibility. Okay. Did you consider non-financial factor? Yes, you did in the report. So you are credible. So that's it. Thank you for watching and wish you best of luck for AFM. And I do pray for all of you that you come with flying colors for AFM, and do message me on WhatsApp, on email me or Instagram that you are the prize winner for AFM. I'm hoping and praying that all of you become prize winner for AFM. Even if you don't become, but at least you have passed AFM. And this video will boost your moral confidence as well as help you to cover your confidence in other papers also. So make sure that you watch this video and share it among your friends who might be lacking in professional skills, not just for AFM, for any other paper. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I shall see you in the next video where I'll be covering the CB platform. Thank you and take care.